Have you ever noticed something that doesn't make sense at first? The smartest person in the room is rarely the one in charge. It's not the one with the best arguments, not the one with the most facts, not the one who can explain everything perfectly. It's usually the quiet one. The one who doesn't jump in right away. The one who lets others talk themselves into circles. The one everyone slightly underestimates. And that should bother you, because if intelligence automatically led to power, the loudest, sharpest person would always win. But they don't. Instead, they get interrupted, they get challenged, they get ignored. Meanwhile, the quiet person moves things forward without forcing anything. No flexing, no proving, no convincing, just control. And once you notice this pattern, you start questioning everything you were taught about being smart, because maybe power doesn't come from showing what you know. Maybe it comes from knowing when not to. Before this goes any further, we need to clear something up. This is not about pretending to be stupid. It's not about playing helpless. And it's definitely not about letting people disrespect you. That's not power. That's avoidance. What we're talking about here is restraint, the ability to hold back what you know, the discipline to not show your full hand, the patience to let other people reveal themselves first, because most people think power comes from being seen as capable. But real power comes from being hard to read. When people can't immediately place you, they hesitate, they second-guess, they talk more, they expose more. And while they're busy trying to figure you out, you're already ahead of them. This isn't about shrinking yourself. It's about staying unreadable long enough to choose the exact moment when your intelligence actually matters. And once you understand that timing, you stop trying to win conversations and start controlling outcomes. Now, why showing how smart you are? Often backfires. Most people think intelligence is something you should display as early as possible. Speak up fast. Correct mistakes immediately. Make sure everyone knows you understand what's going on. It feels logical. If they see how capable you are, they'll respect you. But in reality, the opposite often happens. The moment you demonstrate how smart you are, you shift the emotional balance of the room. You're no longer just contributing, you're competing, even if that was never your intention. Because intelligence isn't neutral. It changes status, and status makes people react. Some people feel challenged, others feel exposed, a few feel threatened, and threatened people don't cooperate. They resist, they interrupt, they nitpick, they question details that don't matter, not to understand you, but to reassert themselves. This is why being right too early is dangerous. When you solve the problem before anyone else, you don't look helpful. You look dominant. And dominance invites pushback. So instead of momentum, you get friction. Instead of alignment, you get silent opposition. You also lose something else the moment you show your hand too fast. You lose curiosity. Once people decide you're the smart one, they stop revealing what they're thinking. They become guarded. They edit themselves. They speak strategically, which means you get less information. And without information, intelligence loses its edge. There's also the trap of over-explaining. You clarify your point, then you clarify the clarification, then you add context, examples, logic, evidence. Not because it's needed, but because you feel misunderstood. But the more you explain, the weaker your position feels. Certainty doesn't need defense. Power doesn't rush. The smartest move is often to say less and let the room sit with it. Because when you don't force your intelligence on people, they don't push back against it. They lean toward it. And that's the difference between being seen as smart and actually having influence. When people think they've figured you out, they relax. Not in a good way for them, in a careless way. Their guard drops, their tone shifts, their need to perform disappears, because in their mind, the hierarchy is settled. They believe they know where you stand, so they stop watching what they say around you. That's the moment underestimation becomes an advantage. When expectations are low, pressure vanishes. No one is measuring your words, no one is tracking your moves, no one is anticipating strategy. You're invisible, but not powerless. In fact, you're free. Free to listen instead of impress, free to notice patterns instead of defending yourself, free to think while others are busy managing their image. Underestimation creates asymmetry. You see them clearly, they don't see you at all. And asymmetry is where leverage lives. This is why people reveal more around those they don't fear. They vent, they brag, they complain. They show you what motivates them, what they're insecure about, what they're trying to protect, all without realizing they're handing you a map. The most dangerous thing about being underestimated is that people stop editing themselves. They assume you won't remember. They assume you won't connect dots. They assume you won't act. And that assumption is expensive, because while they're relaxing, you're collecting. And once you understand how someone thinks, you don't need to overpower them. You just need to time your move. That's the real psychology at play. Being underestimated doesn't make you smaller. It removes resistance so your intelligence can move freely when it actually counts. Most people confuse attention with power. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want recognition in real time. But attention is loud and fragile. The moment you draw it, people start managing you. They watch your reactions. They filter what they say. They shape their behavior around what they think you'll notice. Information disappears the second attention shows up. Playing dumb flips that. When you don't rush to comment, when you don't correct every mistake, when you let a pause hang longer than feels comfortable, people start filling the space. They explain themselves. They justify decisions. They talk in circles trying to sound confident. And in that process, they reveal far more than they intend. You hear what they value. You hear what they're afraid of. You hear what they're hiding behind confidence. Silence becomes a tool, not an absence, a mirror. People project into it. They assume agreement. They assume ignorance. They assume you're not tracking details. So they say the quiet parts out loud. This is why the least talkative person in the room often knows the most by the end of the conversation. While everyone else is performing, you're collecting raw data. And here's the key difference. Attention puts you on stage. Information puts you behind the controls. When people don't know what you're thinking, they can't manipulate you. They can't preempt you. They can't defend against you, because defense requires awareness. And when you're underestimated, awareness disappears. That's why playing dumb isn't about acting clueless. It's about choosing curiosity over visibility. You sacrifice the momentary satisfaction of being acknowledged for the long-term advantage of knowing exactly what's really going on. And that trade is where real power starts to form. A lot of people get this wrong. They hear play dumb and think it means shrinking, letting people walk over you, agreeing with everything, doing nothing while others take charge. That's not power. That's invisibility without leverage. Playing dumb is strategic. Being passive is reactive. When you play dumb, you're choosing your moments. You're observing. You're calculating. You're holding back. Not because you're weak, but because you're patient. Being passive, on the other hand, is fear. It's letting the world decide your value. It's giving others the timeline. It's being invisible without purpose. Here's the core difference. Playing dumb is intentional. You control when and how your intelligence is revealed. You make others believe they're ahead until it matters. Being passive is accidental. You wait for permission. You hide because you doubt your worth. You surrender influence before you even try. When you play dumb, you're quiet, but not powerless. You're still noticing. You're still learning. You're still influencing, just subtly. And when the right moment comes, you step in. Then your words land like a hammer, because no one saw it coming. The key is consistency and awareness. You can't fake it for too long. You can't play dumb without understanding the rhythm of the room. Power comes from intentional invisibility, not from avoidance. And that's why the person who seems passive at first often ends up making the biggest moves. Because they were never passive. They were waiting. They were patient. They were quietly collecting the advantage everyone else was too busy showing off to notice. Timing is everything. You can know 100 things, have 100 solutions, 100 insights. But if you reveal them too soon, they lose impact. That's where the late reveal comes in, when people don't expect you to contribute, when they think you're just observing, and then bam, you drop the insight they didn't see coming. That's when influence skyrockets. Think about it. The quiet coworker who suddenly gives the perfect idea in a meeting. The friend who patiently listens for months and then delivers the advice that changes everything. The negotiator who says nothing for an hour and then makes the deal everyone thought was impossible. That's the late reveal. It works because people underestimate you first. They feel comfortable. They let their guard down. And then your insight hits. It's not just that your point is smart. It's that it lands in a vacuum, without resistance, without challenge. There's another layer to this. The late reveal doesn't just shock people. It resets the dynamic. Suddenly the room looks at you differently. They recalibrate their assumptions. They realize you've been paying attention all along, that you weren't passive. You were strategic. And that shock, that subtle shift in perception, is the essence of authority. But there's a catch. You can't just remain quiet forever. You have to read the room. You have to know when the moment is ripe. Reveal too early, and it's ignored. Reveal too late, and you miss your window. The magic happens in the perfect balance, watching, learning, waiting, and then striking with precision. Because in the world of power, surprise is one of the most underrated weapons. The late reveal isn't just about showing intelligence, it's about showing control, timing, judgment. It's the difference between being smart and being influential. And influence, that's real power. As powerful as this strategy can be, it's not universal. There are times when playing dumb will backfire spectacularly. For starters, high-stakes situations. If safety, legality, or ethics are on the line, being underestimated isn't an advantage, it's a liability. You can't afford to be quiet and strategic if silence could cost someone their job, their reputation, or even their well-being. Then there's credibility. Some moments define your long-term reputation if you consistently hide your competence in critical situations. People start questioning your reliability. Underestimation is only useful if it doesn't erode trust. There's also timing. Playing dumb for too long can make you invisible. People stop consulting you. They stop including you. Your influence disappears, and finally, relationships. In personal or professional dynamics, some people need to see your competence early to respect you. If you consistently underplay yourself, it can create frustration, misunderstanding, and tension. The key is discernment. This is a strategy, not an identity. You're not the quiet one all the time. You're the intentional observer. You play dumb when it gives you leverage. You speak up when it matters most. Understanding when not to play dumb is just as important as knowing when to do it. Because misuse of this strategy can turn potential power into actual weakness. The real skill isn't just in restraint. It's in timing, awareness, and knowing the stakes. Master that, and you're no longer just playing dumb. You're controlling the game. If you want to use this strategy effectively, there's more to it than just staying quiet. It's a fine balance, and missteps can make you look evasive, passive, or even incompetent. First, be deliberate, not hidden. Silence shouldn't be avoidance. It should be choice. Every pause, every moment of quiet should have a purpose. You're not hiding. You're positioning yourself. You're letting others speak while you gather insight. You're observing patterns, noticing motives, and reading the room. That's power, and people respect intentionality. Second, use questions as leverage. Questions are subtle tools of influence. They guide without confrontation, prompt without pressure. When someone explains their reasoning in response, they often reveal more than they intended, and people rarely resist being asked thoughtful questions. They feel validated, even as they expose themselves. Third, maintain presence without dominating. You can be quiet and still command the room. Your body language, tone, and confidence matter. Straight posture, steady eye contact, calm movements, these show that you're aware, alert, and in control. You don't have to talk constantly to signal competence. Your presence alone can convey authority. Fourth, reveal your insights strategically. The timing of what you say is everything. A well-placed observation or solution after listening carefully hits harder than a constant stream of commentary. People remember moments of clarity far more than constant explanations. Your impact grows exponentially when your intelligence is revealed with precision. Fifth, balance humility with capability. Playing dumb isn't about pretending to be incapable. It's about letting others underestimate you while you quietly observe. Humility makes you approachable, likable, and non-threatening. Capability ensures that when it matters, people are impressed and often surprised. Sixth, protect your boundaries. Strategic silence doesn't mean being a pushover. Know where to stand firm. Speak when principles, ethics, or important outcomes are at stake. People respect those who are calm and measured, but never compromised on key values. Seventh, make your quiet deliberate, not habitual. If you always play dumb, it loses effect. People start to assume you're just disengaged or lacking skill. The strategy works because it's selective. Use it in moments where leverage and observation matter most. Reserve your insight for when it has maximum impact. Eighth, reinforce respect through results. Respect isn't given just for strategy. It's earned through consistent effectiveness. When you quietly observe, gather information, and act at the right time, results speak for you. The more people see that your subtle approach produces outcomes, the more they respect your intelligence and authority. Mastering this balance, silence, timing, observation, and precise action, turns playing dumb from a tactic into a long-term advantage. You gain influence without arrogance, power without force, and respect without ever having to demand it. It's not about hiding your intelligence. It's about wielding it in the way that makes you untouchable, unpredictable, and unstoppable. To make this strategy really hit home, let's look at situations where playing dumb isn't just useful, it's transformative. First, meetings at work. You're in a team meeting. Everyone is trying to impress the boss. showing off their ideas, debating every point. Instead of jumping in, you listen. You ask one thoughtful question. You let others over-explain their strategies. By the end, you understand the full landscape better than anyone else. And when you finally contribute, your insight cuts through the noise and everyone notices. Second, negotiations. In business or personal deals, people rush to show knowledge, pressure, or leverage. If you pretend to know less than you do, the other side relaxes, talks more, and inadvertently exposes their real priorities. Suddenly, you know exactly what to push for, what to concede, and how to get the outcome you want without fighting over every small detail. Third, social dynamics. Imagine a group of friends or colleagues trying to dominate a conversation. Instead of asserting yourself, you let them talk. You pick up on personalities, moods, and hidden tensions. When you finally speak, you address the unspoken concerns everyone else ignored. People walk away thinking, how did they see that? Fourth, conflict situations. Arguments often escalate because everyone wants to prove a point. By staying calm and asking strategic questions, you diffuse the tension while learning what motivates the other person. You gather the information you need to respond effectively instead of reacting impulsively and creating more friction. Fifth, learning environments. Even in classrooms, workshops, or new job environments, those who quietly observe often absorb the most. They notice patterns others miss. They pick up on unspoken rules and dynamics. When they speak, it has impact because it's informed by observation rather than impulsive commentary. Sixth, leadership ceremonies. Leaders who always feel the need to prove their intelligence often exhaust their team. The leaders who occasionally hold back, listen, and ask subtle questions gain loyalty, insight, and influence. Their decisions feel intentional, not reactive, which builds long-term authority and respect. Playing dumb works best in situations where observation, timing, and subtle influence outweigh immediate attention or recognition. The quieter you are strategically, the more you understand. And the more you understand, the more power you quietly hold. Here's the thing most people miss. Playing dumb isn't just a trick for a single conversation, a meeting, or a negotiation. It's a mindset, a long-term strategy, a way of moving through the world that builds influence quietly, steadily, and almost invisibly. The power of patience compounds over time. Every observation you make, every bit of information you quietly gather, adds up. Every moment you resist the urge to correct someone, every time you let someone underestimate you, creates leverage. You're not winning battles in the moment. You're winning the board game before anyone even notices it. So here's the takeaway. Stop rushing to show what you know. Stop feeling like you need to impress every room you enter. Stop thinking that power is loud. Start observing. Start listening. Start waiting. And then act. Act with timing, with clarity, with confidence. A useful thought. If you're exhausted, rest. But don't quit on yourself. Because the real power, the kind that lasts, isn't about proving you're smart. It's about being effective when it matters most. And the quieter you are, the louder your impact will be. That's the subtle art of playing dumb, and the blueprint for real lasting influence. So the next time you feel the urge to correct, to prove, to impress, pause. Ask yourself what you gain by speaking right now. Ask yourself what you might gain by waiting. Power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't argue. It doesn't need approval. It moves quietly, chooses its moment, and acts once, decisively. And once you understand that, You stop trying to be the smartest person in the room and start becoming the most effective one.